How anxiety affects love. The way anxiety affects love is very diverse. It can be anything from a feeling of guilt to excessive worry. Anxiety is the most common mental health problem. However, not everyone who seeks professional help or employs appropriate strategies to deal with their excessive thoughts and anxious minds lives on alert. This condition not only limits their potential and well-being, but can also alter their ability to love in a healthy way. Anxiety affects love in several ways. If you suffer from anxiety or live with a partner with this problem, you have undoubtedly been through and witnessed many of their ups and downs. It is often people who suffer from social anxiety who have serious difficulties in maintaining meaningful emotional relationships. Prisoners of insecure and obsessive thoughts find it difficult to feel confident and satisfied. Similarly, it is difficult to build and maintain a solid and happy relationship with someone who suffers from a mental health problem. Anxiety is the most common of these phobias. Generalized anxiety and obsessions constitute a disorder that often prevents bonding. How anxiety affects love. Science has spent years addressing the question of how anxiety affects love. A study conducted by Temple University, USA, suggests that this psychological condition disrupts a relationship and creates anxiety. Anxiety not only interferes with the quality of the relationship, but can also negatively affect the chances of maintaining it. Research published in the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology warns that anxiety does not usually occur alone. In fact, in many cases there are usually other underlying problems, e.g. severe depression. For people who travel through these silent black holes, all significant areas of their lives are affected, from work, finances, socializing, leisure, family relationships and of course love. Here's how anxiety usually manifests in this particular area. 1. Excessive worry. The anxiety-driven mind lives in a state of constant alertness. Any problem, no matter how small, becomes an insurmountable threat. Furthermore, living with a constant fear that something is going to happen means that we see disasters that don't exist and threats that aren't there. This endangers any relationship by feeding it with mistrust and receptivity. Similarly, anxious people overanalyze every word and gesture or behavior of their loved ones. They brood over conversations, over what has been said, and what hasn't been said. This creates great relational exhaustion. 2. Feelings of guilt cause anxiety to affect love. Guilt is like torturous thumbscrews in the anxious brain. In the dynamics of exaggerated thoughts, the person usually concludes that everything that happens is their own fault. Their negative self-perception fuels a harmful dialogue, where thoughts such as the following emerges: I'm not good for my partner. They want to leave me because I'm too overwhelming. It's all my fault. This exhausting and dangerous vision brings the person closer to the brink of depression. 3. Anxious or avoidant attachment. The way anxiety affects love is also reflected in the way we bond with our partners. Some of us do it through anxious attachment, the kind of attachment characterized by fear of abandonment and a need to constantly show affection. In this case, bonds are created based on dependence and on an obsession with constant affirmation to strengthen our self-esteem. On the other hand, anxiety can also manifest through avoidant attachment. With this style, it is difficult to create lasting intimacy, as there is excessive distrust as well as a desire for independence. In this case, the person does not want to admit his vulnerability and builds walls to protect himself. 4. Anxiety prevents us from seeing what is important. Anxiety is a mental demon that takes up too much space in the brain. Anxious people's brains are filled with fear, obsessions, insecurities and false threats. It is an all-absorbing and draining condition, preventing those who suffer from it from being able to focus their attention on what is important, the people who love them. People with anxiety disorders tend to suffer greater failure in their emotional relationships. They also find it more difficult to find a partner. How to improve your relationships if you suffer from anxiety. The way anxiety affects love is complex and self-destructive. But anxiety disorders not only affect the quality of your relationships, but have an impact on your entire life. In these cases, it is important to ask for specialized help to get an appropriate diagnosis and a therapeutic approach tailored to your own needs. Anxiety manifests itself in many ways and has different origins. A social phobia is not the same as an obsessive-compulsive disorder. Sometimes anxiety is a product of childhood trauma or insecurity that needs to be addressed. Here are some strategies that may be helpful. Psychological and pharmacological therapy when anxiety affects love. There are various approaches that can be helpful in the treatment of anxiety, e.g., a cognitive behavioral therapy or exposure therapy can be of great help with phobias. Learning problem solving, emotion regulation, relaxation techniques can also be helpful. Cognitive restructuring, which consists of removing or disabling negative thought patterns to replace them with healthier ones, is a necessary step in any therapeutic process. On the other hand, doctors can in some cases recommend a pharmacological treatment, e.g. anxiolytics. Work on the pattern of your attachment style. Anxiety can cause you to develop a dependent or avoidant attachment style. However, working on these attachment styles will help you improve your relationships. First of all, you need to bond with those you love in a more secure and mature way, without fear and shortcomings and with good emotional regulation. Finally, the quality of all relationships can be improved. Therefore, you must prevent anxiety from becoming a third person in your relationship. You need to let love flourish in a healthy and enriching way.